Last week there was a lot of jibber-jabber about the new MMO from NCSoft, Aion, but we wanted to make it to the Abyss where you'll spend a lot of your time from level 25 upwards before we rated the game. Now that we're there, it's time to put this puppy to bed.
The Abyss is a player versus player area, and cleverly you can never tell what level the enemy is. We wouldn't recommend taking on strangers right away. Despite technically being space, there is gravity in the Abyss, and you'll lament your limited flight time as you leapfrog from giant rock to giant rock.
You'll see some pretty interesting enemies, and if all you want to do in an RPG is have a cool-looking character, then the Abyss is where you start seeing some really badass gear.
You'll have to work for it, though, because the quest structure is very much like it was in early game. Each new area gives you a new, repeatable grinding quest that you can hand in over and over. If you're not grinding on mobs, then you're grinding on gathering. I did see some PvP quests, too, and that was kinda cool, but it's very much the slow path in terms of leveling up.
There are, however, some interesting dungeons that open up, and when you're at a higher level, you and your guild can take over Abyss fortresses, and this is done by first breaking down the door, then fighting your way below the surface to the dungeon boss.
It's pretty much like a normal dungeon, but it is still in a player versus player environment, so other player characters can make life difficult for you. Other than that, all the signs point to the dungeons being very standard issue. Grab a tank, grab a healer, some damage dealers, and crowd control, with nothing really special about them other than the superior graphics, which, to be fair, are pretty superior. But in the late game, if you're not grinding on mobs or gathering, you'll be grinding on these instances.
The actual PvP system is a lot like how WoW used to be, with different ranks based on how many PvP points you've achieved. There can only be so many players at a higher rank at one time, at which you can spend all your points on gear and then start all over again.
PvPing in Aion is much like any other MMO. The classes and abilities are the same old stuff, except, see, these crafty Americans have wised up to our oceanic server thing. They know if they join it, it's on the west coast of the States, so they get a much better ping, and they'll pretty much run circles around us. So there's that, but Aion's flying has affected PvP in a good way, whether you're swooping down on someone with a group to gank them, or using the glide feature to get away quickly.
No matter where you are in Aion, you just can't seem to get around fast enough, since there's no mounts, there's only some areas where you can fly in, and just not enough flight paths.
That's right, so we're going to let you in on a poorly kept secret. If you go into your options and select click to move, when you jump again in midair and you'll start a glide. If you do this downhill, click anywhere on the terrain and you'll start hopping and gliding until you hit an uphill. It's basically flying in a non-flying area.
Take that speed limit. Final thoughts, John?
Aion's a very attractive game, and indeed, in certain PC sales charts, it's number 1 and number 2 with the Collector's Edition. I'm not sure a lot of these people are prepared for the level of monotony they're going to be smacked with from level 12 onwards. If you like grinding, fair enough, and I don't want to knock what you do, but for the rest of us, Aion's the prettiest looking piece of crap that's come along since Conan. I'm giving it 6.
For me, I can handle the grind if the enemies are interesting or cool-looking enough, and that's what the Abyss has. I think you're being a bit harsh, Jung, because like you said last week, the grinding mechanics are well thought out. You just really need to know what you're getting into. I'm giving it 8 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game!